Hodge has done it from nowhere.
Nick Davis! The miracle on grass!
To Zaharakis!
Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Dickheads Talk Sport podcast. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Jed.
And we are just a couple of dickheads, and definitely not experts. We're just voicing our opinion, and if you disagree, that's fine.
Alright, for episode 1 today, we'll be doing our predictions for the 2020 season, obviously restarting this Thursday with a big game, Collingwood and Richmond. So we'll start off with top 4. Tommy?
Okay, so my top 4 is ideally, it'll be Richmond, West Coast, GWS and Collingwood. I'm not really sure how I'd order that, but...
Yeah. Well, I think that would be everyone's top 4. I think it's hard to put anyone else in there. Obviously, the order. I think West Coast will finish top. And then probably I'm going to go Richmond, Giants, and then Collingwood will be the fourth team to slip in there.
Okay.
So probably an easy top 4 for this year. There could be a team that slips in, but I don't really see any other team getting in there.
Yeah.
So now we'll go to the other end of the table and go bottom 4.
Okay. I think it has to be said, but Gold Coast will finish bottom. And this is a bit tough, but I think teams like Adelaide and Sydney may struggle.
Yeah, definitely.
And considering how Melbourne went last year, I don't think they're going to make much of an improvement.
No.
Slightly better,
That's
but
fair enough.
not as.
Alright, so I'll go probably what everyone in the world probably says. And Gold Coast will finish 18th. List is still very young. They've got rid of all their best players in the past couple of years who've gone on to become superstars. And then I think second last, I think I'm going to have to go with Sydney. Probably underperformed since 2016. Obviously losing Buddy is obviously a massive out.
And players like Hanbury.
Yeah. Obviously, you have Buddy and he'll change the game all the time. Haven't had him and they haven't really done much. Still got a good list, but... and then I'm going to go 16th, I'll go with Melbourne again.
Okay.
It's a bit of a tough one. They had one bad year. And you see with all the talent they have, you don't know how they finish that low. But I think they're going to do it again. One of their worst parts of last year was their fitness. And they got really hammered for that. And yeah. And then 15th, I'm going to stick with what everyone else is saying and jump on the bandwagon a bit here with Adelaide.
Yeah.
They have a very good list. Just things with the club and the managerial side of it has just broken them in the last couple of years. You saw how good they were in 2017.
Of course.
And they've just dropped since then. So it's hard to say they'll finish that low with a team like that, but I think they will. Okay, so next we'll go Wooden Spoon.
Well,
It's a no-brainer.
it is. Gold Coast.
Yeah,
will
Gold
finish
Coast.
bottom.
Obviously,
100%.
very young, haven't got much experience. They've traded away a lot of their good players in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Obviously, trading away their captain,
Yeah.
Tom Lynch, and he's become, well, he was already a very good player. And he showed that he's a good player at a big club.
Yep.
We'll go, who do you think the two teams are going to be in the grand final and who will win?
Okay. I think it will be Richmond and West Coast. At least that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
And of those two, I think Richmond would win because just having the home ground
Yeah.
advantage and having all the fans
Yeah.
in the world.
I think that's what really happened with Giants last year.
Yeah.
They went in
100%.
there, obviously, they've been in 3 prelims
Yeah.
in the past 5 years. Never making it, but they did make it, and then they just got overhauled at the G. Obviously, being a Collingwood fan, I think we could be at our best we've been in a long time. I think 2018 we were good.
Yeah.
And obviously we charged through those final series. Obviously last year was unfortunate that we played that bad in the prelim.
Yeah.
Obviously we were down by that many, and as soon in the last quarter we started coming back, but it was too late.
Yeah.
but I still think it'll be probably West Coast. Obviously with the inclusion of Tim Kelly, I don't see them really losing at home.
No.
And then Richmond, powerhouse side. Obviously, you lose like the best defender in the league last year, and they still win the grand final. And I reckon West Coast by under a goal. You see 2018, they come here and they win it.
Yeah.
And I think they can do it again. Obviously, Richmond, it's hard to beat them, but I think with the team they've built together, West Coast, that they could. All right, so now we'll go to 2 individual awards, and we'll go first we'll go with the Rising Star. So there's not a lot of being talked about the young guns, obviously, because the season hasn't really kicked off and you haven't really seen many. But I think there might be a few that come to mind, maybe one.
Yeah, I've got no idea.
You've got no idea. So
Genuinely.
I think it could be out of 2. I'm going with Matt Rowell, who's obviously the number 1 pick for Gold Coast.
Fair enough.
And I think Hayden Young, I think Freo, seems like a good player. Talked up a bit. I think slipped a bit in the draft, but I think out of those 2, yeah. And now we'll go Brownlow. So this is the big guns.
As seen last year, there was a lot of people
Yeah,
that
definitely.
could have won it.
It was a good run last year.
So I think this year will be similar. Not the same winner. I'm going with Paddy Cripps to win.
Paddy Cripps, yeah.
But I think he'll be very close
Very
with players
close.
like Bontempelli, Dusty, Lockie Neal, just to name a few. I think it's going to be an exciting year for the Brownlow, so it should be very close.
And I think you're onto something here. People say he can't win because of the team he's on, but you go back to Gary Ablett, who won a Brownlow on the Gold Coast.
Exactly.
So if you play best every game, you get the votes.
Yep.
And even if he doesn't get the 3, he'll get at least a 2. And I think that's why I think he will win it again. Not again, sorry. He will win it. He's got pretty close to it. Like, finished top 10 probably a couple years in a row. And I think this year could be his year to stand up. And I think maybe if he stands up like that, they could be onto something Carlton this year. And I think maybe he just needs a few more players around him to stand up like this year.
Yeah.
Because I think the last couple of years it's just been him and a few. Okay, so first we'll go a team that falls this year.
Well, as we've said before, with Adelaide's managerial worries and like the list issues, I think they're the team that's most likely to fall. Maybe not as far as we might think, but I don't think they're in for a good year.
Yeah, definitely. So Adelaide finishing 11th. It's not really like they've finished high and falling, but 11th to a 16th maybe if they fall. That's a big fall for a club like that.
Yeah.
I reckon this year it's going to be Essendon.
Okay.
So, obviously, haven't won a final in a very long time.
Yeah.
And they've really struggled to really be a good team in a while. They've got a lot of talent that they've brought over. But I think with a few injuries and stuff, they've really hurt them a lot. So, finishing 8th last season, I don't reckon they'll make finals this year. I reckon they'll finish probably from 10th to 13th. And obviously for a club like that, if you finish 13th, it's not a good look on you.
No, not at all.
Okay, now we'll go a team that rises. So a team that underperformed in the last couple of years, but you think this year could be the year.
I mean, this gets said every year, but St Kilda.
St Kilda.
My only worry is they always start out really well and then drop off after like round 10.
So obviously, round 1, St Kilda played North, your boys, and
Yes, they did.
got off to a very good start. Obviously, being ahead by 4 goals at half time, you think North are out of it.
Yep.
This is a new St Kilda that we see. And then just all turned in the second half. So you watched that game. What was your take on that game, and how did you see St Kilda? Like comparing the halves.
Well, the first half they were very dangerous and
Yeah.
made us look absolutely terrible. And then the second half it just switched over.
Yeah. So I think in the first half they really used their new players like Brad Hill.
Yeah.
very good first half. Paddy Ryder, yeah, and they used their run. I think in the second half, North just saw what they needed to shut down. They did.
Yeah.
So, St Kilda to rise. I'm going to go... It's a bit hard, but I'm going to go with Port.
Okay.
So they only finished 10th, so it's not that low, but I think this year they'll push top 6. So, obviously, Ken Hinkley on his contract says doesn't make finals this year, he's out.
Yeah.
And I think this is the season. Obviously, they play Gold Coast round 1, so that's a gimme win. But if you don't take them seriously, you do lose. So I think this year they've got the talent. They just bring together, obviously, Fortress down there at the Adelaide Oval. And yeah, I think it'll be Port's year to really show that they have a good list, like back in 2014, 2013 days. So we got big headline that you think's going to happen this year. 1 or 2 big headlines.
Honestly, I think that it will end with Ken Hinkley getting sacked.
Yeah.
Even if they finish, I think they would like maybe just finish like out of the finals, like 9th.
Yeah,
or
that'd
10th.
be pretty heartbreaking.
It would, because he's had a good run at first. It's just it's really hard to determine these sort of things
Yeah.
because you really don't know.
And obviously with the season being cancelled and everything, you haven't really heard a lot about what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got 2. So my first one obviously goes with my big riser, and Port make top 8 and Hinkley keeps job.
Okay.
So as I said, 6th, it'll be 6th, 7th or 8th.
Okay. Yeah.
And it'd be pretty cool to see them maybe win it on the last day. Like the last game being they have to win or he's out. And on my second one, I've got Lance Franklin returns for second half of the season for his last.
I mean, if he does manage to get to 1,000 goals, that would be a
Yeah.
fairy tale ending.
So I reckon he'll definitely come back before he retires.
Yeah.
Like a bit of a send-off season, and I think this could be the last. Even though probably not the best season to do it, but he's just getting injured all the time now.
Game is not going to be the same when he
No,
goes.
he's obviously dominated for a very long time, and it's very bad to see that he's endured all these injuries and stuff. Okay, so now I've got a few questions for Tommy. Just see what he says. So, back on my big call. Do you see Buddy returning this year and having an impact on the Swans?
I definitely see him returning, but it'll be much later because
Yeah.
he did get injured recently.
Yeah,
didn't he?
injured. I think it was a hamstring.
Well, that's always tough to come
Yeah.
back from. But
So probably missed the first half, maybe.
as much as I'd love him to come back and reach 1,000 goals, I don't think it will happen.
Yeah. Well,
But
how
you
many?
never know
How many
with
does?
Buddy.
How many does he need?
I think it's like 54.
Yeah. See, if he comes back, he misses the first half of the season, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second question I have is, how many losses can Simon Goodwin afford before he gets sacked? Or does he?
So how many losses did he have last year? Was it like...
So they finished. They were 5 and 17. So it could be. I could easy up the question here and say, how high do they need to finish, maybe, or losses? So
I think they need to avoid bottom 4.
bottom 4. But definitely a team like that, 2018 prelim to second last in one season. It's a pretty bad drop. So obviously again, I don't know. Is there too much hype surrounding St Kilda and Carlton this year?
St Kilda, yes and no, because we already know what to expect.
Yep.
Like I said before, they're really good in the first few rounds and then they just drop off. But with Carlton, I don't think they're going to be as good as everyone thinks they are.
Yeah.
Well, not yet at least. So I think another few years maybe before they can maybe push for finals, but who knows.
So Carlton keep the hype going. St Kilda see where they go.
Yeah, because you've seen with Carlton, they've got the fan support.
Yeah,
Which really helps them.
Yeah.
I think it's the most members that they've had ever
Yeah,
this season.
and they really think this could be their time. So this is a bit of a comparison question for you.
Oh, fun.
So you have a team.
Yeah.
Do you take the Hawks 3-peat team or the Lions 3-peat team?
Well, it's tough to say because when the Lions 3P team were around, we were only like little kids.
Yeah.
Like we didn't.
Well,
Compared to Hawthorn, we actually watched all those
and
grand finals properly.
They were dominant.
I mean, you went to one of them.
Yeah.
So just because of that, I'd have to pick Hawthorn because I actually saw them play.
Yeah, I
completely.
think. Well, what you've heard, they obviously had really good players.
Yeah.
The Lions, but we've seen the Hawks' dominance.
Yeah.
And I think
absolutely.
you got to go on that and pick that. It's a bit of a tricky question, but best team to miss out on a premiership in the last decade. So it could be a team that's lost the grand final or just missed out on making the grand final that you thought, oh, they could win it.
I think GWS in 2016.
Yeah, I was
tough.
thinking about that. So you reckon they could? You reckon they would have won it?
I don't think they would have, but it would have been a fun game or an interesting game.
Do you reckon that game, the support base of the two teams probably would have been maybe 50,000, the rest of them just neutral fans? So it would have been very even.
Well, I mean, Swans do have a huge fan base.
Yeah.
So that's would have affected GWS as you saw with last year.
Definitely. But I think with grand finals, you obviously get a lot of neutral fans who are just the members who want to go to the grand finals. I think you go to a prelim final and it's all team based,
Absolutely.
which is always loud. It's very loud. Like obviously going to the prelim last year and the prelim and grand final the year before. Obviously the grand final was so loud with the West Coast fans. A lot of them turned up, but the prelim just has that buzz around it. Like two teams going at it, two fan bases. Like you have a lot of neutral, like Carlton fans, North fans, all that, and that just want to go because they're members and can go. So yeah, definitely Giants. Yeah, there's not a lot where you like comes to your mind straight away. I think maybe Richmond 2018 if they make the grand
absolutely.
final. Yeah, definitely.
They were the best team that year. By
Yeah.
far.
Well, if you go back,
Maybe Freo.
Freo, yeah,
That was kind of heartbreaking to see.
very good
not
team,
win.
just didn't perform on the day.
Yeah, they struggled under pressure.
And yeah,
against
you can't
Hawthorn.
really go 2014 or 15.
Okay.
Maybe that year Port lost the prelim by 5. Like
I remember that.
that's unlucky. Probably not the best team to not win a premiership, but unlucky to not win a premiership.
Yeah.
Okay, got another comparison question here. So it's a player comparison. Do you take Dustin Martin's 2017 season or Patrick Dangerfield's 2016 season? So they were obviously both their Brownlow seasons.
Yeah.
I think Dustin Martin 36 votes.
Is that the most?
Dangerfield 35 votes
Okay.
in 2016. So yeah, Dustin Martin is the most. So they're one vote apart. Obviously, Dustin Martin took them to a premiership. I don't know what happened. What Geelong finals 2016 maybe.
Yeah, they made a prelim in.
Made a
2016.
prelim. Yeah. But both years are dominant.
It's hard to determine, but I think you have to say Dusty, not just because they won the flag that year, but because he had such an instrumental role.
Yeah,
in
obviously
winning the flag.
Brownlow, Norm Smith, Club BNF, and yeah, the Norm Smith was a bit
Basher was robbed.
iffy. Yeah, but it's happened a few times, and I think when you get to a grand final, obviously Danger never has. It's the players that stand up there. Is players that you'd like to have in your team who stand up on big days, but Dusty won everything that year.
And I think if you think since then, Dusty's been better than Danger.
Oh, definitely since then, yeah. I think Danger, when he pushes forward, he's dangerous. He just is poor at goal kicking, and I think he's obviously very, very good, and obviously with the players, he's quick, strong, and it's very hard to take. But Dusty just breaks apart every single game.
It's so annoying watching him play because he's just that good.
I think what happened, that 2018 prelim where he got shut down by Levi Greenwood was just obviously amazing to see, and a player who's not hyped at all, Greenwood, to shut down the best player in the comp pretty much at that time, other than Mitchell. is just great to see. And I think that really put down on Martin that he didn't perform in a prelim, but he dominated the season before and that season as well. In 2019, not as good, but they still won the premiership.
Very consistent, though.
Yeah, won another Norm Smith. So, okay. Do Adelaide prove the critics wrong and have a decent season?
Well, I think they definitely can, but I really couldn't tell you because I think they're more likely to have a bad season than have a really good one.
Yeah.
They're never going to be as good as 2017.
Oh no, that was phenomenal how good they were. Well, they finished top that season, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's just annoying. They had to come to Melbourne to play. So, no. You're saying no.
No.
I'm saying no as well. Can Brisbane back up their great 2019 season?
Yes, they'll make finals again, I think, but they won't be top 4.
No, not
They won't
top
be
4.
as good as they were.
So they went from, I think, 18th in 2017 to 15th in 2018 to 2nd.
And I think they've gained a bit of experience, so they know what to expect.
Yeah, definitely.
From last year to this year.
Obviously, bringing in Luke Hodge for those 2 years
Yeah.
was definitely what they needed, and they brought in Lockie Neal, Lyons, who were very good players.
Yep.
It just brought the experience up, and I think even though they don't have Luke Hodge anymore, I think they've built that experience into all their young players.
Yeah, but they've got Grant Birchall now.
Their new general. That's another question. Do you think Grant Birchall will live up to the expectations that Hodge left there? No. And I think it's a no-brainer. He's a very good player.
No way
But
near the same player as Hodge.
back in his day, definitely a good player
Yep.
when Hawks were dominant. But I don't reckon he'll do near the same job as...
It's because he gets injured a lot
Yeah.
in the last few
And he's
years.
not like that general player that
Yeah.
Hodge is. Okay, the last question. Do Cats start losing at home now that they are potentially going to play bigger sides?
I really don't know because for me personally, watching North play at Geelong, I mean, I know we're not a huge club or anything, but there's something about their ground. It's just it's a lot different.
Hawthorn training ground at Waverley Park.
Yeah.
They have, obviously their ground is like the MCG size maybe.
Yeah.
And they've got, so they're playing Geelong. They've got the GMHBA stadium marked out on their ground. And the difference of the boundary lines is about 15, 20 metres. That's how thin it is.
It's very narrow compared
So I think
to most grounds.
They know how to play on those grounds. See, when you go to... They don't win a lot at the G, what they should be. And that's why they want to play out in Geelong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's the end of the questions. So now we'll move on to our round 1 tips. So obviously...
Round 2, you mean?
Round 2 tips, yeah. Obviously, big break between round 1 and round 2. So we'll
It's
start
been the
off
longest time.
this Thursday at the G, 7:40, Collingwood versus Richmond. Obviously, massive game.
This is one of the better fixtures
Yeah.
over the last couple of years. It should be
So
very close.
Richmond coming off a okay win against the Blues. Obviously, they started off really well, and you thought, they're going to blow them out. Blues did make a bit of a comeback, but Richmond obviously standing as a bigger team. And the Pies coming off a big win against the Dogs. Dogs obviously hyped up, thought it was going to be a very good game, and I think Pies just took it off them straight away.
It's interesting to look at round 1 because it was so long ago, so it's hard to
definitely,
compare.
yeah. Like, what's happened to the teams during this time off?
Yeah, like they were really good 12 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now you really don't know. But I think Richmond by a couple of goals.
I reckon it'll be
So it
close.
should be close, yeah.
Definitely close, but you rarely tip against your own team. And I think,
Fair enough.
obviously, I accept it if Tigers wins because they're a very good side, but I'm going to go with Collingwood by 11. I think we've had a good off-season with a few good draft picks coming in, players being fit, but I think if we keep our players fit, like a few injuries that have just ruined us the last couple of years, I think, obviously, if we keep our players fit, I think we could be on for a big season, and I hope that's this season. Okay, so we got Friday, GMHBA Geelong versus Hawks.
Another good game.
Very good game. So Geelong coming off a 5-goal loss to the Giants.
Okay.
And Hawks come with a very impressive performance against the Lions, winning by 4 goals.
So you could say Hawks have momentum over
Yeah.
the last
Yes.
3 months.
Again, you don't know what's happened. I think Jago O'Meara fractured something in his face or something. So I don't know if he's playing or not.
Again, I think this will be a very close encounter, but
It'd be weird seeing Hawks playing there, though. Like, it'll be the first time a pretty big team has gone out and played there.
so I think I'll have to go with Geelong.
Geelong.
Again, I think it'll just be a couple of goals, so very close game.
So I'm going to go with the Hawks.
Okay.
Obviously, a very good start to the season. They obviously bring back in Tom Mitchell.
Of course.
Well, the last season he played, he won the Brownlow. So bring back in Tom Mitchell. I think, obviously, if O'Meara's not playing, big out, but I think they'll just win. I don't think Cats will be as good as they were last year.
Okay.
Obviously, finished top of the ladder, which people probably didn't expect. And yeah, so I'm going to go with the Hawks. So then we move on to Saturday. So the first game is Brisbane versus Freo. So Brisbane, obviously the loss against Hawks. And Freo coming off a 6-point loss at Marvel against the Bombers.
Okay. So this is in Brisbane, yes?
In Brisbane.
Brisbane's very weird when they play at home because they're either really good, but even when they don't play as good, they still just narrow out a win.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think Brisbane by 3 goals.
Brisbane by 3 goals. I'm definitely going to go the same. I'll go Brisbane, obviously at home. Definitely the best side, but I think Freo will stay about where they were. Obviously, with a superstar like Nat Fyfe and a few players around him who are improving now, I think they could be a decent side this year. But I think Brisbane got them at the Gabba, and obviously they just lost to Bombers last round. And then a game that could decide a lot of things on how good these teams are. It's Carlton and Melbourne at Marvel. So Carlton coming off the 4-goal loss against Richmond. And then, Melbourne at Optus, only 4-goal loss against the Eagles. Obviously in round 1. So what do you see?
It feels like this is just a really good return to form with the AFL because it looks like this could be an interesting game as well.
Yeah.
So I think it could be Carlton by 10 points.
Carlton 10 points. I think, you're probably right. I'm going to go Carlton. I'm going to go 4 goals.
Okay.
I think Melbourne are going to take some time to adjust.
Yeah.
And I think, they'll just come out, play very well. Okay, so the next game, big game, the showdown. Port versus Adelaide. So Adelaide coming off a 3-point loss against the Swans at home. And obviously Power beating the Suns by 47 points at Metricon.
I'm gonna have to go with Port because I just think they're the overall better team.
Yeah, definitely.
I think a 5-goal win.
5-goal win. And I'll go the same 5-goal win for Port Adelaide. You know what? If Adelaide win, good on them.
I mean, losing at home to the Swans.
Yeah, Swans aren't a very good side, but I think Port just have that upper hand.
Yeah.
And then the other game that night, probably an easy one, Gold Coast, West Coast. So Gold Coast coming off the 47-point loss to the Port, and West Coast beating Melbourne by 4 goals.
So I'm going to have West Coast by 10 goals.
10 goals. I think Gold Coast definitely put up a better fight than what they do at Metricon than what they do anywhere else, but 10 goals sounds likely.
I mean, a team like West Coast, we know what
obviously.
they can do.
Premiership contenders this year, and okay, now we move on to Sunday, and the first game on the Sunday is GWS versus North. So GWS coming off the 5-goal win against the Cats, and North obviously the big comeback win against the Saints by 2 points.
Okay. I know you have a thing about not betting against your team, but we're not going to beat GWS in Sydney.
Yeah, there are those games where you just got to go, we're not going to win.
It could be a close game, but I think 5-goal win for GWS.
Yeah. All right,
Probably more, though.
I think at the Giants Stadium, I'm going to go with a 30-point win. I think they've got the experience. North, very good first round.
Yes, I don't think we're a bad team.
No,
GWS
definitely not.
GWS are a lot better.
GWS are a very good side. All right, so now we go to the SCG. and it's Sydney versus the Bombers. So Sydney coming off a pretty good win against Adelaide, and Bombers coming off a 6-point win against the Dockers.
Okay, so we know the Bombers is the better team right now, but something about Sydney.
Yeah.
Like,
Sydney are definitely a better side than anywhere else.
just Victorian teams playing interstate just is not a good combo.
Yeah.
But
Well, obviously Richmond, in their years of success, they couldn't win an interstate game.
so I think Sydney by a goal.
Sydney by a goal. I reckon. I'm going to say Sydney by 15.
Okay.
I think it'll be close.
Yeah.
And then they'll just run away with it. And then we go another pretty big game at Marvel. St Kilda versus Bulldogs. Obviously, St Kilda dominated North in the first half, but then
Unlucky
lost.
loss.
And then Dogs
They just played Collingwood.
of
They just played
52-point loss to the Pies.
It's
So it was two pretty hype teams coming into the season with two losses. One by a lot and one that they should have easily won.
so I'm thinking Saints by 2 points. So like
Saints
a
by
very
2
close
points.
game.
I'm going to go the Dogs.
Okay.
I reckon they'll change everything around. I reckon Saints will go 0-2, and then they'll be like, what's going on? But yeah, I'm going to go with the Dogs.
Okay. So looks like we're in for a good week of footy.
Definitely a good week. Some very good games to restart the season,
Yep.
and there'll be some very good watches, and we'll definitely come out with our reviews of the games next week. So the next episode we'll come out with is our Premier League
Prediction.
end of season predictions and obviously tips and stuff. So that will be sometime soon. So just looking for that. And remember, just like the video, give it a watch, share it out. Thanks for listening.